start gripped up neutral. We're gonna swim for the inside tie. And right now your base should be whatever foot you feel more comfortable having forward, just slightly more forward. We don't wanna be here, we don't wanna be here. Just not for this takedown, okay? So we engage, head position in the jaw, circle, pull the collar into you because that'll increase that pressure we get here, okay? Now this is the leg that I want. If that leg on the sleeve side is really close to me, then I can just flare his elbow, change my level, step in and scoop it up. But it's not always that simple. If I get here and he has that leg a little farther away, I can use my inside tie in his arm and I can just take a little shuffle step back, just like we did for our warm-up, little step shuffle pull, and it'll bring that leg in for me, okay? Now I open the elbow, change my level, and I'm just gonna take a step in. For those of you who have wrestling experience, it's totally okay for you to change your level, roll your front knee to the mat as you shoot, but for this takedown, it's not gonna be necessary, okay? So change my level, open the elbow, I step in, head position immediately on the inside on the ribs, I hook around his knee, and then I make him take a step backwards. Why? If I try to pick his leg up now, it's heavy. But if I drive off my back foot and I make him walk, the leg gets really light. Very easy for me to pick it up. Now look, this hand comes through, pull it down, hook up to my bicep. I've made a figure 4 here. I have the collar pulled really tight. From this position, keep your knee pinched for now, curl your partner down to the mat and circle aggressively to the inside. And you're gonna snap him down. Neutral grip set, collar, collar, sleeve, sleeve. You don't have to break grips this time, okay? Swim for the inside tie, cup the tricep with cup hand grip, pull it in. As I engage, head position, forehead in the jaw, circle, pull on the collar to create that counter pressure. I spin 90 degrees. If the leg is this close, I can just flare the elbow, change my level, step in, make him walk, and pick up my single. But if I get here and that leg's a little farther away, I can use my grips and my footwork to circle him into the takedown. Now I change my level, flare the elbow, step in. Remember, don't just scoop down and pick it up. I have to scoop down, pick it up, drive off my foot, make him walk so the leg gets light. Elbow drops so I can put my hand on my bicep. Now I curl down to the inside, circle aggressive, snap him to the floor. Okay? Laying on top of his knee. So I will always drive my weight into my partner in this position and lay heavy on that knee. So no weight on my knees. I'm rolling all my weight into my left shoulder. And then I'm gonna start hooking up a position called the weave pass from here, okay? So this is where my arm position started. What you're gonna see is my hand drop off my bicep and it's gonna cup his bottom knee. You won't be able to see this right now, but I'm gonna cup his bottom knee. I'm gonna tricep press through to keep it isolated and out of my way. A lot of people will settle for this hand in the collar grip and then head position on this side. But I think even better than that is a sleeve grip here because it keeps him really flat. Okay, so I'm laying heavy, tricep pressing through the bottom leg, and then I'm gonna come and pick up the sleeve. Wherever you can grab, it's great, but above the elbow is preferable. So if I can get above the elbow, lift your arm please. If I can get above the elbow closer to his shoulder, this is really where I wanna be, like on the tricep, and I'm gonna pull it up off the mat. To counter that pressure, as I pull up, I drop my left shoulder down really heavy, and then I keep my head pressed against his chest and his far side shoulder, so if he tries to roll into me, and he tries to get anywhere but flat, I can keep him flat, okay? And now I'm just gonna take a slow walk around. I was never trapped in half guard. I was always just laying heavy on his legs and he had no control over me. I'm just gonna tiptoe around nice and slow, lifting that arm up off the mat, and I settle into side control. When I get here, good universal control is reaching for my cross face, grabbing some fabric on the shoulder pressure into the jaw so he's looking away, and then I can take the time to untangle my arm, and I can either control the near side leg or I can just float my hand above the mat and check his hip, okay? No weight on my knees. I keep my weight off my knees. I roll all that weight into his chest, through my chest, and then I stabilize my position. And I'm here. All right, so look, this hand comes off my bicep, I swim through, I cup the bottom leg. Like I said, a lot of people keep the collar and they have success, but if he hides his bottom elbow, go ahead and hide that elbow, and he starts to turn to his side, now he can start to move away from me, and I don't want that. So I leave the collar, and I'm gonna snatch that arm up however I can, but the best grip is above the elbow toward the shoulder on the tricep. I pick it up, plant my head on the far side shoulder, pull that arm up tight. Okay, now I just sprawl, my legs are already free. I'm just gonna tiptoe around, take a little walk around the guard, Once I get here, drop my cross face, shoulder pressure into the jaw, and I either control the near side leg or I float my hand above the mat, checking his hip. Where we left off, we were here. I had the shoulder grip, shoulder pressure into the jaw, and then I was either controlling the pants on the near side or floating my hand above the mat on the hip, okay? So what I want to do is I want to mount from this position, but what you see most people do when they don't really understand how yet is they just kind of move one leg in, they throw their leg over like this. If you get lucky, the person on the bottom doesn't know what they're doing, you'll pull that off. But if you do that against somebody who's got any training at all, they'll catch your leg somehow or another on the way over, you'll be trapped in half guard. It's difficult to mount with your hip totally square to the mat like mine is right now. So one thing you want to try to do is you want to turn your hip a little bit. So I'm gonna drop my right hip bone to the mat, and then I also like to extend what I call an insurance policy here, okay? What this does is it just makes it so if he tries to throw me over the far side as I mount, I can block and stop that. But I increase my pressure up top as I do that. I drop my right hip to the mat, I extend this arm as my insurance policy, big pressure into the jaw, and I stay low. I'm gonna bring my knee to touch this near side hip bone, and then I'm gonna slice him in half with it. I'm gonna cut him in half. As my knee hits the mat, if I try to drop my foot straight down to the floor, he'll snatch it up in half guard. That's annoying. So what I wanna do instead is as my knee hits the mat, my left hip bone drops, I flop it wide to the side, and then I can get a nice clean mount. Okay, so 2 points for our takedown, 3 points for our pass, 4 points for the mount. That's how fast the points can build in a jiu-jitsu match, okay? And this is where we work. So when you get to this position, if you see any flare in this elbow, we're gonna exploit that. I've already got my arm wrapped deep around his neck, so I've got my first choking grip set. But what I'm looking for is just a little gap between his body and his elbow. What I'm gonna do is just slide the sharp part of my forearm under that gap, and I'm gonna wedge it in there, okay? Now, even if he tries to close it down now, I can start finger walking up, and I can start opening the elbow. So when you do this, your fingers walk, your palm strikes. Your fingers walk, and your palm strikes, and you repeat this movement until you get as far up above the head as you can reach. You can see his elbows starting to want to pass the center line. Once I can't reach up anymore, I start walking to the side. Finger walk, palm strike. Again and again. This is where people get greedy. What people do here a lot of the time is they'll take their hand off the mat and they try to finish pushing the elbow all the way across, and they lose the position. So what you need to do when you're looking right at that elbow is just take your chin, close your mouth, and use your jaw as a doorstop. Okay, now I can hold the arm in place with my jaw. Now my arm is free to help work that arm across. But if I just reach from here to here, I'll lose the position. So I have to pass the arm, doorstop it with my head, and then I can help push it across with the assistance of my head and my arm, okay? Now, once his elbow passes my center line, I hold it tight with my head, I bring my hands together, and I'd like to put my forehead on the floor if I wasn't talking to you guys. The one thing I feel right now is my shoulder on his jaw, which you don't want. You're just gonna crush somebody's face like that. So if you feel the shoulder on the jaw, drop your hips, chest, legs, everything down, and then rechamber your shoulder under their chin. So I'm gonna show that again because it's a really important tool to have. If I'm too high, my shoulder's on the jaw, my feet, legs, and chest drop down, I slide down the body, and this is gonna let me bring the ball of my shoulder under, and then I go right back up again so I don't lose the arm. Now from this position, I'll drop my shoulder to the floor, close to my hands, and I can tap the person out right from the mount. And that's a good thing to practice. I don't even have the weight of my body to help. But what you should do is you should move off toward the side. So I'm gonna raise my hips, cut my knee across the body, and I'm gonna move 45 degrees away. My head plants on the floor, my elbows close. You okay, Mike? I get off my knees, and then I drop my shoulder down to where my hands are. Turn your hips a little bit, drop your hip bone to the floor. In this case, it's my right hip bone, okay? I'm just cutting a better angle so I can mount. I extend my arm as my insurance policy, big shoulder and chest pressure, and then I drop my head, my knee touches the hip bone, and I slice him in half, heavy pressure. And once I get here, flop the foot to the side. And then if you get to this position and the person's legs are bent, always, always, always grapevine, stretch, and drain their energy a little bit, okay? So I've already got this arm around the neck. I'm gonna work with my arm triangle position here. I notice a gap between his elbow and his ribs. So I scoop it up with the blade of my thumb. Here, and I start to walk. Even if he closes his elbow now, finger walk, palm strike. Finger walk, palm strike, again and again and again, okay? And once I can't reach any higher, now I walk over his head. Finger walk, palm strike, again and again. And now look at his elbow. Almost past my center line. Don't get greedy and do this, okay? Check it with your chin. Door stop it, hold your place. Now you can help work it across, okay? Hands together. Everything drops down because right now my shoulder's on his jaw. I drop and I rechamber right away, because if I just drop and I don't come back, he'll free his arm. That arm will come out. So I have to drop down and come right back again to keep the arm trapped, okay? Now I feel the ball in my shoulder and his neck. And now we dismount. Windshield wet to me on the belly. I'll walk off toward the side, 45 degrees. Up on my toes, hips not too high, not too low. Right shoulder drops down to my hands. I get my tap.